I'm King Link, and it's time for the Humble Choice July 2022 review. Once again, there are 8 titles for us to look through, but I think there's really only 2 titles that need to be considered. I'll still go through all of them and give you a little bonus game at the end as well. The rules are the same as always. I play each game on Twitch for an hour, and now I can talk about who's going to enjoy the games, who should check them out, and if they're any good. This month though, I'm making a few changes to the video. I'm sure some of you will notice them. Let me know what you think. I'm a little nervous and excited about these changes, and I'm going to let you discover them yourself. With that said, let's get started with the game already on screen. Take it away.
The mules are heading back. Follow them and let's get that drop pod fixed.
Deep Rock Galactic. Mining. I mean, what else are dwarves gonna do? Deep Rock Galactic is not new to me. I've already spent over 30 hours on this game. This is an excellent title, and I'm glad to see it in the bundle. In it, you can play solo, with friends, or of course with random people, but either way, players will tackle one of 7 different types of missions in various locations and with various dangers and sizes. There's enough variety that players will have reasons to continually keep coming back. There's also a very solid progression system and a great design to the game. The developers have continually added to the title to expand it and include even more content over the 4 years since it's been released, and they don't even seem to be slowing down. While you will be familiar with the mission types over time, each time you enter a level you'll tackle a new area, which will give you a unique experience with potentially extra stuff found in there. This is also a game that's, of course, better with friends, a topic I've tackled before about this very game. Pick this up if you want to go mining or have a solid group of friends that you want to play with. You can instead play this solo or with random players as well, and it's almost as good. I will say this is one of the best gaming communities though, no matter if you're on their subreddit, Discord, or meeting random players in game. The community is extremely welcoming, friendly, and willing to get a green beard up and running. Rock and Stone Brothers.
I need help down here. Now!
Can't handle a few, Escher. What's going on, Leto?
Necromunda Hired Gun. If you're waiting for a single-player FPS, well, here we are. Necromunda Hired Gun is based on a game workshop game called Necromunda in the Warhammer 40k universe. You're on a mechanized planet, and the locations here do not disappoint. Whether it's the furnace location during the first level or an epic train that passes in the second, there's a huge sense of scale and discovery here, and that's really impressive. It's too bad the rest of the game just doesn't work as well as the level and locations. There's a particularly bad character model that I found. I'll try to show here. It's of a big brute, but it was a bad enough model that made me start realizing it's more visual trickery and filters that made the other enemies acceptable. At least I think so. The gunplay in the first hour is average at best, and there are some weird control choices such as combining the use, melee, and reload all on a single button, which is awkward for the melee takedowns. Then again, some of the moments reminded me of Ghost Runner, such as the wall running that's rather good, and a few moments were visceral like Doom Eternal, but a weaker form of both of those games if I'm honest. Pick this up if you love first-person shooters. I like the environments here and would love to see more, but this is a game workshop game. Those tend to have a decent amount of jank. As always, when it comes to these type of games, I recommend people check out Mandalore's reviews if they want a more in-depth look at the game, which is ultimately a positive, though it does mention a lack of polish at launch. Though, one last point, there's a dog you can summon by squeaking a toy and letting him go after the enemies. Who's a good boy? Legion TD2, an auto battler that feels accessible. Legion TD2 seems like a solid game. It's called a multiplayer tower defense game, and I think it's also commonly called an auto battler. I got through a lengthy tutorial and some of the campaign mode, and I found it to be a relatively welcoming experience. There's a lot of helpful tips and tricks, and even a recent upgrade improved what they call the game coach. Placing units and trying to use strategy was a good move, but a big piece here is the resource management. You have resources to attack the enemy and a different resource to defend yourself, but using each resource can increase the rate you gain the opposite resource. If that sounds confusing, don't worry, it's well explained in the tutorial. After the first few levels of the campaign, I actually was getting a solid handle on the gameplay. Pick this up if you want to play multiplayer. There's a campaign, tutorial, and more, but this game is definitely intended to be played online and competitively. And there are some interesting gameplay elements here. There's also a lot of interesting choices, such as the ability to re-roll your character, and 8 different factions, as well as a special faction that will hopefully keep the game fresh for all the players. Legend of Keepers. Be a dungeon master. Kind of. Legend of Keepers involves the player being employed at the dungeon company and having to hire minions, level them up, and deploy them against invading adventurers. The idea of working at a dungeon company doesn't really come through on the experience, though I kind of understand the concept. The issue is how mundane the experience is. After an hour, I felt like I understood what the game was trying to do and just didn't want to keep playing. The concept of being a dungeon master doesn't feel new or fresh here, but what's worse is you're just selecting monsters and not designing a dungeon. Each room is pre-laid out for what's going to appear there, so you have limited agency as well. There are choices to be made, but you're still limited in what you can choose. Pick this up if you want to be a dungeon master, or as the first character is titled, a slave holder. Ooh, boy. But this is a grindy experience, and I also find this hard to recommend. I didn't even finish my first mission in the game in that first hour, but I also don't feel a compelling reason to return. Maybe this one just isn't for me. Also, there are 3 playable characters with 3 more locked behind DLC, which feels a bit greedy, but the game itself did enough to turn me off, so this is kind of a minor footnote. Lawn Mowing Simulator. It's better than watching the grass grow. I'll start by saying I love Lawn Mowing Simulator, and I'm not even saying that as a joke. There's something zen-like about this game where it's just mowing lawns. I played a decent amount of this title on Game Pass, and now I own it on Steam. I might do the same. The whole game involves mowing people's lawns and eventually running a company and getting other people to mow lawns for you. To me, it's somewhere between an incremental and a typical simulator game. Watching the progress bar slowly tick up as you cut the lawn, trying to perfect each lawn and avoid damaging the grass or flowers, and watching the lawn slowly get cut by each subsequent pass that you go around. This isn't going to be ultra competitive, but if you just want to sit back and relax for like 20 to 30 minutes, this will easily satisfy you. Pick this up if you want something extremely chill and relaxed. It's not going to be for everyone, but it's a game that I fully enjoy. I mean, ultimately, it's in the name. It's a simulator game about mowing lawns. If you expected more than that, well, I don't know why. I know you guys expect me to give some negative about the game. Fair enough. There are no push mowers in the game. You know what? Maybe that's something for Lawnmower Simulator 2. Fingers crossed. Banners of Ruin. Slay the Spire in the Animal Kingdom. Banners of Ruin has players choosing from 2 starting characters, with only the mouse and the bear available at the beginning, but 4 others promised. From there, players have 3 lanes on the screen at any time and have to choose one of the lanes to advance the cards there and to tackle different events. Normal battles are challenging, but there are also elite battles that constantly wrecked me. The entire game involves building your deck and equipping items onto your characters, then tackling events to see what happens next. In battle, you'll draw cards and each of your characters can use them. The character placement can matter, as does the items your characters have equipped. The experience here is both challenging but interesting and will entertain players of deck builders. Pick this up if you already enjoy Slay the Spire. There are enough changes to the formula, such as the party system or the equipment, that it's going to greet the fans of the genre with something fresh. But I'm not really sold where to place it in the pantheon of deck builders. Still, it's unique in some of the elements that it tries. Yes, Your Grace. It's good to be the king. Yes, Your Grace has petitioners who constantly greet you and ask for your favors, which means money and supplies, and unless you give them what they want, the entire kingdom loses happiness. While this sounds like a decision-making game, it's much more about resource management and trying to manage a kingdom while making your family and guests happy. The problem is, I really didn't like the story here. Yes, Your Grace has this unfortunate habit of allowing players to make choices and then telling the player a backstory that would have been useful to know before, stuff that you characters should know. Like when you execute a raider, you then find out that the raider was from a faction you promised a daughter to. The story didn't excite me either, and the art style worked in a few scenes, but also pixel art feels almost tired by this point. Pick this up if you want more of a visual novel with some resource management. I know people who swear by this game, but I just didn't find it that engaging, and I'm probably going to be giving it up. I came into this month hopeful for this title, and I'm leaving it quite a bit disappointed.
The man takes your money, and with a smile rubs his hands together, as if anticipating your reaction to his magnificent trick. He takes off his...
RPG Trudograd. This got me nostalgic for Fallout, the original Fallouts. RPG Trudograd is the second in the series. In it, players are going to explore a large city called Trudograd, of course, for an organization to find a special weapon that they want. The players will spend most of their time talking to people, getting to know them, or helping them with whatever they need doing, or finding prostitutes and sleeping with them. Not that I would do that. Trudograd is inspired by the original Fallout games and does a good job to live up to that inspiration. There are quite a few memes in this, and the language is a bit odd. Not necessarily bad, but it's been a while since I've seen writing like this. It's going to take some time to get used to it. However, there are incredibly good voiced sections. My real complaint is I want the entire game voiced like that because the acting there felt great and would have been very welcome, but probably would have cost way too much to do the entire game in that style. Pick this up if you're nostalgic for the CRPG genre, especially Fallout. It also has some similarities to Disco Elysium in the amount of writing here, though there is some combat as well. It's a style of game that has grown out of style, but probably shouldn't have, and Trudograd is refreshing to see once again. And so that's what I have for the games this month, but hold up, I like to check out what's in the Humble Game collection as well, and this month I have an odd one. Let's check out...
It reads, "Of all men's miseries, the bitterest is this, to know so..."
Huh. That's some cloak and dagger.
Chinatown Detective Agency, a game that just tells you to Google it. Chinatown Detective Agency tells a story about a brand new private eye who gets hired to help out numerous clients and has to find information, solve puzzles, and discover the origins of quotes, stamps, coins, and more. What's particularly odd though is this is all real-world information. Whether it's a quote from a mysterious book or a rare stamp that someone wishes to return to the country of origin, these are real-world objects, and the game's telling the player to search for the information for these topics on the web. It's a unique experience that reminds me a bit of playing Carmen Sandiego, only with a search engine instead of a large reference book. Players might have to figure out what the term Ludstown means and then go to that location to discover their suspects. There are several in-game puzzles as well, but the search mechanics are what's really unique here. Though the search does often turn up people giving hints or walkthroughs about the game, adding a negative sign and then the word Chinatown does seem to avoid those pitfalls. Pick this up if you want a one-of-a-kind game. Searching answers on Google might not appeal to everyone, but this is not a game that you've seen before, and that's what stands out about it. It's a fresh experience in an industry that rarely comes up with new ideas, and for that, it's worth checking out. As always, you can check out Chinatown Detective Agency in the Humble Game Collection. That's available to all subscribers. So if you pass on this month's bundle and buy next month's, you can check it out then. As for this month's bundle, I had a lot of fun playing the games, but I really struggle with an important point. This bundle really feels designed for Deep Rock Galactic and Necromunda. The other games are enjoyable, but I don't know if I'd recommend the choice if buyers already own these two games or don't want either of these games. And yes, Deep Rock was at $10 in the Steam sale, but I'm sure the other 7 games will likely make up that $2 difference. Necromunda has never been under $18, well, $17.99, so there is a good value there. Though I also will mention that if you want to share the Deep Rock Galactic experience, this is a great way to get a second key, which is what I did with it. On the other hand, I want to applaud Humble. There's no Epic Games, GOG, or Origin keys this month, and it was beginning to feel like that was a permanent change. So if you are a Steam fan, you're getting all the games on the right launcher. The bundle itself is also quite fresh. The only game that's been bundled before was Legend of the Keepers. I also don't believe any of the games here have been given away on Amazon or Epic, which is also quite rare. There's also one other issue that's kind of nagged at me. Humble and the creators of RPG Trudograd both state players should play the first game in the series, RPG, before Trudograd. I appreciate getting the second game in the series, which is the better title apparently, but it would have been nice to get both titles here, so players can experience the whole story. It's likely Humble just copied the text from Steam, but come on. With all that said, let's grade the titles. We'll get out our trusty tier list using the American grading system, and once again, I think we'll be skipping the F tier. It feels like it's becoming useless, and that's exactly where I'd like to keep it. Much like the grading scale, a failing grade is one of last resort. As for the D tier, there are 2 titles here. The bottom of D tier is Legend of the Keepers, and I usually enjoy games where you manage minion, and I like the idea of being the bad guy, but after an hour, I was glad to put this one aside. There's not enough player agency to make the experience worthwhile. The other side of D tier is Yes Your Grace. This was almost a C, but I don't know if I can recommend this game, and normally I'm a fan of visual novels. There was a few moments of great animation, such as this sword fight that you're seeing now, but a long sections of decisions which I started to realize have limited purpose. The story felt like it was on rails, and while the game implies choices will matter, I always question how true this is. So that's where we stand after D tier. There are 6 games left, so let's get to the biggest category, the C tier. The bottom of the C tier is RPG Trudograd. I enjoyed the experience and may return due to my love of Fallout, but I still have to comment that this is a style game that was popular like 20 years ago, and the lack of the first game does hurt here. It's still an interesting title, but not one I can recommend to anyone other than a gamer longing for a specific experience. The middle of C tier is Banner of Ruin. I honestly don't know about this title. The elite bosses here felt extremely difficult, yet I enjoyed the gameplay and am curious to see if it can live up to that promise of gameplay. But I'd also put several other deck builders above it right now though. It is still worth checking out. The top of the C tier is Legion TD2. I'll admit this one isn't for me, so I'm not sure I can really recommend it, but the player base is active, the gameplay seems good, and the style is welcoming to new fans. It's worth giving it a shot and spending a few hours learning the game and playing it online to make your own opinion. Maybe this should have been a low B tier. And after the C tier, this is how the list looks. With 3 games remaining, we have 2 tiers left, and B tier has 2 games. So let's see how I'm about to lose my credibility. The bottom of the B tier is... okay, it's Lawn Mowing Simulator. I've said it before, I like this game and I don't feel bad about it. It does what it says on the tin and it's a great way to unwind. It's my list, so let me put a game on it that I've enjoyed this much in B tier, and if you get the bundle, give it a shot. You never know if you're gonna like it. The top of the B tier is Necromunda Hired Gun. I have issues with this one, but it's a high value game and I did enjoy myself even with the weaker gameplay. I might return just to see the rest of the levels. The level design was that good, and I hope once the player gets more guns, the experience will improve. Which leaves only one game in the A tier. Unsurprisingly, it's Deep Rock Galactic. I've already spent over 30 hours playing this game. It's from a fantastic developer who has kept improving this title for 4 years now, and the experience is great, made even better by playing with people you know, aka better with friends. But again, I want to call out the community that has helped make this game something special, and for all of those reasons, it deserves the A tier. And with that, we have the final tier list. What do you guys think? Which games are you picking up for the bundle, or are you passing this month? I know a lot of people have been waiting for 2 genres to pop up, both FPS games and RPGs. This month we got 2 FPS games, and hopefully we'll see an RPG before long. I mentioned before some changes to the video. Let me know what you think about them, or if you didn't notice them at all perhaps. Perhaps I chickened out and didn't include them. I'm mysterious like that. If you watched this far though, hopefully you've enjoyed yourself, and if you haven't already done so, consider subscribing and ringing that bell. If you did enjoy this video, remember to like, comment, and share this video to help out the channel. I know it's annoying to keep asking this, but I have to ask because it's the only way YouTube knows to keep sharing this with others. I'm going to link my video on Better with Friends here because it's more Deep Rock Galactic and everyone can use that. I'm also considering a bonus video this month, but I'll have more on that in the next video. See you next time.